I want to play this clip of Meghan McCain because if you see something, say something. And this woman has one of the largest audiences in the country. The View is an extremely popular show on a major network, ABC. Let's roll this clip.
We're going to a place where even if people need money, even if people are qualified to get into Ivy Leagues, race and gender is more important than your skill qualifications, the content of your character. It is not what Martin Luther King Jr. preached. I think this is a very, very slippery slope. I was very surprised to hear someone like Tammy Duckworth say something like this. She got a lot of blowback from a lot of people, not just on the right. And I think this is actually just the natural progression of identity politics. And I will say, just to put a cap on this, The View is 25 years old next year. We've only had one Asian American co-host this show. So does that mean that one of us should be leaving at some point because there's not enough representation? We're talking about, is identity politics more important than qualifications of a job? And I think that's a question going forward that the progressive left is going to have to reconcile.
Okay, and before we go, because we're going to go and take a break, eventually we're going to come back and talk about the black farmer.
Right.
Excluded.
Oh. My God. Okay.
Whoopi Goldberg is all of us. She is literally all of us. Meghan McCain is trash. And I can't believe she's coming out so hard right on the heels, literally a day after she had to apologize publicly for getting called out for calling the coronavirus the China virus and being like, I don't have a problem with it being called the China virus. What's the big deal with the calling us the China virus? Well, bitch, now you see the big deal. People are getting hurt. People are getting murdered because of your freaking big mouth flapping off irresponsibly, being like, I don't know why it's a big deal. We call it the China virus. Like, give me a break.
What kills me, though, is like there's an aggrievement, right? They're more upset with identity. God forbid minorities or people of color step up and say, we deserve to live. And they're like, well, that's identity politics, or we deserve representation in government so that we have representatives who remind folks that we deserve to live. And she's like aggrieved as a child of a billionaire and a former senator.
Yeah.
Like, God forbid you police my words from a, Are you kidding me?
And the thing that she was saying, which is the argument against affirmative action and the argument against diversity hiring and the argument against so many things, is such a perfect example. Like, if you talk to anybody in any industry, the number one thing that they tell you is it's all about who you know. Mm-hmm. That's how you get that job. It's all about who you know.
Personal experience.
It's got to be about who you know. So, like, if you only know blonde people, only blonde people are getting hired. If you only know white folks, only white folks are getting hired. I mean, people of color have known this for decades. And she's talking about like only the qualified people, like, we need to reach out to the most qualified candidate. It's like, well, how do you get qualification? You get qualification through experience. How do you get experience? You get experience by getting the job. How do you get the job? By knowing someone who looks like you.
Not to mention economic disadvantages. There's we could go through the list of inequities in this country. I mean, the irony of this whole thing, just a side note, she's talking about, we had one Asian person, it was Lisa Ling, who has been very vocal about these attacks, and her husband, Paul Song, who is a Bernie Sanders supporter, as you were too,
Absolutely.
who've been incredibly vocal about these attacks that have been happening against the Asian community. Like, how dare you speak on behalf of other? How dare you? I mean, I've known her for a long time, okay? We both started in the media together. Look at our trajectories. I'm not a McCain. I am not a person of color, but I'm just trying to say, like, this is not, there are institutional issues, and then layered on top of the institutional issues, there are who you know. I had a conversation recently with somebody, and I'm sure you could refer to this, a white man who was very upset about identity politics and cancel culture. And he said, he explained how he was passed up on a project for a black man got it instead. And I said, oh, okay. So did you ever think that table had 10 people and you were the worst of the 10
worst of the whites, You were the worst of the whites. So you know what, buddy? Hit the road. Worst of the whites. Like my mediocrity was not. That's offensive to me. That my mediocre ass did not make the cut. And it's so enraging, and it is something that is very, very, very familiar to people of color. I mean, we talk about this, I'm an actor, and we talk about this in the entertainment industry all the time. It's like, people complain, like, people will be like, well, the Asian actors just aren't up to par.
Oh my God.
Well, how do you get up to par? You get smaller roles, which lead to bigger roles, which lead to starring roles, and that gets you up to par, right? Well, if the beginning roles are only like 2 lines as an Asian massage parlor worker, or 2 lines as a nail salon, because there's, nail salon worker, or 2 lines as the Chinese restaurant waitress. How many roles are there? Right. That's 5 roles in a year. Like, how do you get up to par? The stepping stones for us are not there. You need to actively create the stepping stones for us to get up to par, quote unquote. If an Asian actress has only ever been able to audition to play a Chinese food waitress, right, that, whereas a white actress can play anything. A secretary, a doctor, a nurse, a lawyer, a construction worker. Like, you think there's ever been an Asian construction worker hired in the history of Hollywood? You think there's an Asian dog walker that's ever been hired in the history of Hollywood? An Asian business like a business executive, unless it's a Japanese company. Like, give me a break. Like, the stepping stones are not there for us. So don't even tell me about us not being up to par. There's a systematic, the system is rigged against us.
Yes.
Black people are so familiar with this. Brown people are so familiar with this. Asian people are so familiar with this.
Absolutely. Helen Hogg, you are up to par for our show. If we had a little ecosystem, I would be chatting with you all day long. Love you, support you. I hope your parents are doing well.
Thank you.
Folks, call to action. Watch out.
Action.
Get your cameras up.
Yeah.
Defend. Be an ally.
Be an ally. And a lot of the things that you can do to help are similar to if you help sexual harassment victims. Like, go stand next to them, be like, hey, come over here, stand next to me, Mary, Sue, whatever. Like, pretend like you're their friend. Just be an ally. Don't just stand by.
Thanks for watching and listening to The Nomiki Show. But remember to click like and subscribe on YouTube, and please share on social media. If you're not already a patron, please join us for as low as $5 a month on patreon.com/The Nomiki Show for early and special content. That investment makes a huge difference. We are not corporate media raking in the dough. It's really you guys that are keeping us going. So please consider being a patron. And to our current patrons, thank you so much. We are incredibly grateful to you. We also now have swag. So check us out on thenomikishow.com to get your mugs, your totes, and your stickers.